What's up, you beauties? Welcome to High and Wide Radio, episode 28 of season 5. My name is Jim Iacovone, and I'm joined by Jack Smith and Travis Ballinghoff. Mr. Russ Cohen will be joining us in just a couple of minutes to talk NHL Draft and probably the NHL Draft lottery, which just took place. By now, you know the results. But first, if you're not listening live, please make sure to subscribe, follow, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. If you're watching live, make sure to say hello in the comments. And if you have not yet subscribed to YouTube, make sure to subscribe and set an alert for future shows. If you want to check out our site during the show, maybe buy some merch while you're listening, you can head on over to hwhockey.net or find all of our social media links in one place over at hoo.be/HWHockey. All right, Jack and Trav. It's done. Flyers get Bedard, baby. Here we go. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
He might fall.
He might. It's a little early in Chicago's rebuild for Bedard, so who knows? But yeah, the lottery kind of went as it should have gone, right down to those last three picks, right, boys?
Down to it, baby.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It was a little weird. I think. Did you guys have a team that you were rooting for? I mean, before we get to that, let me just. By now, everybody knows the Flyers got pick 7. They finished seventh last in the league. They end up getting pick 7. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, the topic everybody wants to talk about right now, right, guys? Connor Bedard likely going to the Chicago Blackhawks. We do have our guest just hopped on, so I'm sure we'll talk about that. Let me get him on the show. Mr. Russ Cohen, thanks once again for joining us. How are you?
Good, Jim. How are you?
I think some of us could be better. I'm still a little bit, it is what it is. Whereas I can literally see the dejection on Travis and Jack's face over here. I mean,
I can't believe you started the show with so much pop. I thought you were going to be a little not interested,
So I've kind of been, it is what it is. And that's kind of been my approach all year. I mean, the Flyers said they weren't tanking. They didn't tank. So I've been kind of like, all right, well, they're going to finish where they finish and I can't get mad. So it is what it is. But Russ, we got you on the show. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get right into prospects. I want to get your thoughts on the NHL Draft lottery, of course, as well. What did you think about tonight? How did it go?
Well, I mean, look, aside from what everybody's going to say about the Blackhawks, if they want to say it, as far as the actual lottery, it was fair. It was fair. I had said on other shows, I would prefer to go back to the old method where the worst 5 teams are the ones that are picking the first two batches of picks, and let's go with the worst 5. Let's get their picks in. So do them for the first and then do them for the second and then let everybody else take part. They didn't have to do that. I mean, this was totally fair.
Yeah. Boys, what did you think? I mean, do you agree with Russ's side there, or what did you guys see? What did you think?
Yeah,
I definitely don't think. Yeah, go ahead, Trav. I'm sorry.
I do personally think the lottery is kind of stupid. I get why they do it, trying to not have teams tank, but teams are going to do it anyway. And I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to say I expected anyone to have a crazy jump up because it shouldn't, but it does happen. So,
man, Flyers just a couple years back went from 13-2 and had the pleasure of taking Nolan Patrick, right?
Missed out on Suzuki because of it.
But Jack, go ahead. I want to get your thoughts before because everything is still raw. So I do want to hear what your thoughts here, Jack, before we start talking prospects, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'm not going to be one of those people who's pushing the whole rig thing. I'll make my jokes, obviously. When I saw Philly get 7, and I was honest, first reaction was a massive disappointment, but not in a everything's wrong, the universe is against this kind of way. It just didn't work out. We didn't drop. I'll take that. We are steady at 7. Like, I will definitely take that. However, karma is fake. It does not exist.
I will agree with that. So yeah, Jack, you bring up 7, and who better to have on the show than Mr. Russ Cohen to talk picks? I think last time we had you on, Russ, 2 weeks ago, we talked picks or players in your rankings from 10 to, I believe it was 6. Mm-hmm. Tonight we're going to talk players 5, 4, 3, 2. Everybody knows Bedard, so we could touch on him if you want. I'm sure we'll talk about him throughout the course of the show. And then if you have time, some other players like Axel Sandin, Paleka, and players of that sort. If we have
I'll
time.
go fast so we have some time. Yeah, I'll stay around for like 20. I did put up new rankings on sportsology.com since the last show. So
That's
after
right.
the U18 World Championships, I changed it a bit.
Okay, so let me get to your list here. I did see that you did have a new list. Sorry about that. I should have had it ready to go.
All right.
Did you have a change at 5?
No, it's still Zach Benson. To me, Zach Benson, smart, just a tremendous scorer. I think he'll be a center. He may not be the biggest guy, but you really don't notice it on the ice. He can really control an offense. He's like a field general out there, maybe the smartest guy in the draft. So still playing, and people could still watch him.
And now it looks like he could, of course, as has been long speculated, it looks like Montreal has the 5th pick, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll see, but it looks like he could be going to Montreal. We'll see.
Could be. I mean, again, this isn't a mock, and I won't do a mock for a little while because I really have to start thinking about, the scenarios, because all you have to do is change one pick and everything changes.
That's true. All right, so let's get to number 4 on your list, and this player has quickly become the most controversial player on your list. Number 4, Matvei Michkov.
Yeah, Michkov, I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, he's a tremendous player. I've been watching him for years. Just a lot of energy out there, great edge work, tremendous offensive player, could be a big-time scorer in the NHL. Somebody who gets him, he'll be one of their best players on the team, but he's going to take 4 years to get here, or at least 3. I don't think it'll be a lucky situation like the Capitals where they got their guy out early. I think it was because of the Capitals and they had Ovechkin. So, with Michkov right now, you're just, you're looking at a great player and you're wondering when he'll come over. But again, even if it takes as long as Kaprizov, I don't think Minnesota was upset when Kaprizov finally came. So, sometimes you have to just, do this. It's a long-term thing to draft. Most of the time, most of the teams that are looking to cut corners usually lose out.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, and it's kind of been, the hot topic question the last week or so. If Michkov's there at 7 and you're the Flyers general manager, do you take him, or
if I was the Flyers GM, yes, I would take him.
Okay.
Will the current Flyers GM take him? No.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
So.
Yeah. It's the talent. This is a talented player, but you can also understand why you would back off, especially a team like the Flyers after what they are going through with Fedotov.
Well, I mean, this regime has never taken a European player with a first-round pick, the Flyers in the last 11 years only had 2 picks, 2 first-rounders that were European players, 2 Russians, and so I mean, again, that's Rupstov and Provorov. That's it. So their history also sort of tells you that they probably wouldn't do it.
Wow.
Now, it doesn't mean they can't change it, but I would be surprised.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's go to number 3. I think a player that's somewhat going, I don't want to say he's under the radar, but with guys like Michkov, we're talking Benson, Will Smith, Dvorsky of late, and then, of course, the next 2 players. Leo Carlsson's kind of flown under the radar a bit, no?
Yeah, well, his season ended early, but, he's in the World Championships now. If you watch that, you could watch Carlsson, and he was already playing with Raymond over the weekend, looked really good. He's a guy that will play center. He can move very well. He can get through to the net in traffic. That's the thing. His stick work in traffic is excellent. He has good size. He has great stick work, really good shot, very smart. So I kind of look at him and I say, yeah, there's no reason he shouldn't be the number 3. Now, again, I will preface it and say that if Michkov didn't have this long-term contract and people weren't sort of iffy about Russia, it would be a great argument because, you have Carlsson who's 6'3", but Michkov is just a world-class talent, and he's more talented, but Carlsson could do a lot of things on the ice. So it would be a good argument, but, and Michkov probably would win out, to be honest. But in this right now, the way it is, I look at it, and I don't have to do it that way because I'm doing rankings, but I still edged out Carlsson because I do feel like he does more on the ice. But again, in the real world, if you're looking for a big-time scorer, Michkov probably would move up there. I'm looking for the more complete player, and that's Carlsson.
So I'm trying to do some mocks, and I'm like, all right, well, Columbus reportedly could be in on Will Smith. Does this pretty much negate that now that, like, I don't see Carlson slipping past 3? Do you?
No, I don't think that'll happen, and I don't think he'll sneak up to 2. I think Fantilli's pretty cemented in there. So I think those first 3 are pretty cemented, unless somebody were to make a trade, which I don't think will happen. I watched Fantilli at the beginning of the season. I saw him at the end of the season live. I've watched a lot of in between. He was up in Lehigh. He helped Michigan win a big game. Just tremendous what he did as a young player, a true freshman, and coming in there and being their best player. Like, it doesn't happen that way, and still being big in the playoffs too. Just a tremendous guy. I interviewed him. I was very impressed how smart he was, how together he is. And then you look at his all-around game, and he's got everything. He's got physicality. He's got finesse. He really has it all. So again, in any other year, he's probably a first-round pick.
Yeah.
A first overall pick, sorry. And so I just have, a lot of admiration for him.
65 points in 36 games as a true freshman, 30 goals. He's likely going to be playing out in California with Trevor Zegras.
Like, I know people try and sell stuff. So, like, when Danny Briere said that Cutter Gauthier had a dominant season, this is a dominant season. Cutter Gauthier had a really good season. He did. But this is dominant. To me, there's a difference.
Yeah, almost 2 points a game average. 30 goals as a freshman, 30 goals, 36 games. That's
and I hope he's the winner now, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty good year. Pretty good freshman year. Is he going back for another year? Is he going to be in the NHL next year?
Yeah, he told me his original plan was that I think he'll play coy during the draft because it's just the thing to do. But his brother's there. He rooms with him. I don't think there's any reason why he wouldn't go back. He's got a lot of buddies there. I think he'll go back.
Yeah, Anaheim's putting together a nice young team out there. Yeah. Okay, and I guess the guy everyone has known, to be number 1 in rankings for well over a year now.
I think it's 2 years, but yeah.
2 years. Connor Bedard. I mean, what hasn't been said about him already?
Yeah, the fact that he has this maturity, the fact that we don't talk about his size very often, the fact that it really doesn't matter because it's a lot like Jack Hughes. You have to be able to catch him to be able to do anything as far as hit him or throw him off his game. He can stick handle around you. If you play him too tight, he's probably already past you. So it's really hard to defend against him. Now, as he moves up the ladder, he'll have to get better like everybody else, but he has all the tools. He has vision. He's got the great shot. He's a playmaker. He's a scorer. He can hit that little bit in the top corner. So like he can do all those things, but he's really tricky too. And that's a big thing. And if he's going to even be the guy that's going to draw all the attention to him, whoever his line mates are going to be really happy because they're going to be beneficiaries too, because he's going to be getting them the puck and nobody's going to be on them. So that's going to be a big deal for Chicago. And of course he'll play in his first year. Now, again, you never can say if it's going to be a banner year or not. Chicago has some players. They're not like the best situation where he would maybe get like 70 points. I think Anaheim would have been that because he would have been on that line with Zegras and such. But at the end of the day, this is still, an original 6 franchise. That's going to be a big jersey seller, a big marketing push for the league. He'll get a lot of notice. So in that regard, this isn't a bad place for Bedard to end up. And as far as that other stuff with the Blackhawks, it's not Bedard's fault. Like, there's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah. Well, let's open this up a little bit now. I mean, Jack and Trav, I know you guys had some questions for Russ.
Yeah, shoot.
Go ahead.
I'll start it off. So I really like Axel Sandin Pellikka. Good skater, good natural playmaker, little undersized. He's 18. Maybe he'll grow a couple inches, but I think he's listed at 5'11". But I'd like to hear your thoughts on him.
Yeah, he's terrific. I have him as the best defenseman. I think he's smooth. He's tremendous on the power play. He doesn't make many mistakes. He's got an accurate shot. I don't think he's a super high point guy. I think, you're probably talking about a 50-point guy, but you're also talking about a guy that you really don't have to worry about. And he's really good on his zone entries, and he has very good stick work on D. He's just I like his hockey brain, and Now there's so many good forwards here. It's possible he may not go in the top 10 and could even go like 12, 13. But in the end, I think he'll prove out to be a tremendous defenseman.
Do you remember a time doing your mocks where like the top 10 was all forwards?
No. And it's not to say that it will be. Some team might draft out of need and say, hey, we're taking him here because he's our guy. But just the fact that that possibility exists, no, I think that's just and I think it's just the fact that a lot of us I'll say, don't feel like there's a defenseman on the board there that's a top pairing guy. So I think that's another reason why. Because if you're going to draft top 10, you should be getting a top pairing defenseman. If you don't, then you shouldn't be drafting a defenseman. That's just my feeling, like just as general draft rules.
I was thinking about that today. I was like, man, I don't remember a time where the top 10 was all forwards. It's pretty crazy.
No, it's unusual, but this will be an unusual draft. And 03 was unusual too in Nashville. I mean, we didn't know at the time it was going to be as storied as it is now, but it's just funny. It's back in Nashville. So
I guess my question is, and it's obviously early because we just figured out the lottery and whatnot, but do you see a potential, and obviously not in the top 5, and I doubt the top 10, but do you see a lot of movement in the first round, particularly the first 15 picks or so?
Well, I don't think there'll be movement for the top like 13. After that, it's possible. I mean, it's possible you could see a little movement, but like as an example, you're asking me that, like if you were the Flyers, would you trade down and again do like the Caulfield scenario again? I would tell you I would not do that. I just don't think, this isn't the NFL draft. It's you're not getting guaranteed players here, and every time you move down, the risk factor goes up. And we have a little bit of an idea how that worked out already for the Flyers. Not great, not horribly, but just like eh. And so I wouldn't want to repeat that and do that again.
I have to ask you, it's not as much draft related or lottery related, but what is your overall thoughts on the whole idea of tanking? It's been a hot topic. You got Flyers fans at each other's throats. Basically what Fletcher did in the offseason, why if he shouldn't have even been here. And
I have no problem with tanking.
Okay.
I think it's fine. Gary Bettman could say it doesn't exist. It exists. Chicago was clearly a big time tanker. But the thing is, what the Flyers could have done was in January, they could have called up more of the young guys. They would have naturally lost some games that they were winning, and they could have at least been in a better draft position, have better odds to end up better than 7. I'm not telling you they're going to end up with the 1, but because with Tortorella as your coach, he was always going to win you a few more games. But still, management could have set it up a little differently where, hey, it would have been a little bit more of a struggle for them to win. If they win, fine, there's nothing you can do. But they definitely could have done that. Players still would develop, and the record wouldn't be as good. They didn't even attempt to do that. So, they get what they get. This is what they want. This is what their plan is, and we'll see how it works out.
That's kind of my thought process too. Like, just going back to the summer, like you were never going to get Connor Bedard without getting lucky, just because Chuck held on to Carter Hart, Travis Konechny, Ivan Provorov. But like you just said, they could have put themselves in better position at some point, and then John Tortorella said, well, the hockey gods aren't going to reward us if we tank.
Right. Well, if you believe in the hockey gods, that's fine.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. There you go.
I think Chicago did all right tanking.
Yeah, it's paid off for them, and they're not going to feel bad about it.
Nope.
So here's my thing. I think, tanking, you need to kind of – I like the way if you're going to tank, it needs to be an actual plan. It can't just be like, all right, let's go into the season, see how we do, and then start selling players off. I like the way teams I think Detroit did it for a while with Yzerman, where, they were signing free agents in the offseason knowing that they were going to flip them at the trade deadline. You know what I mean? And Anaheim tried to do it this year, kind of backfired on them a little bit with Klingberg. Who's another team? We were just talking about them. Chicago. They went into their offseason knowing that they were going to tank. They did. You know, they drafted well last year. And so it was a plan. It wasn't just all of a sudden, you know, things didn't go our way. Let's sell TK Provorov, because I think that's when you start losing deals, when you do stuff on the fly like that.
Yeah, I just don't think there was ever a cohesive plan. I'm not sure there still is. Yeah. It's hard to have a cohesive plan without having that other front office person in there, and without Danny having the interim taken off his GM, you know, off his title. So based on that, there never was a cohesive plan. And, you know, right now there's a thought that they're sort of rebuilding, but again, a lot of things go into that. And if they are truly doing that, you know, we'll see what happens, you know, at the draft and what they might sell off. But before then, it's just talk. Like, it's you know, that's really what it is. And I think a lot of fans have taken it that way. You shouldn't take it at face value right now. You should wait and, you know, look for results, because right now they haven't shown you a plan since John Tortorella's gotten there, other than, hey, we're going to be more respectable. Okay, you did that, but that's still not solving anything.
Interesting that you said that, because we've heard them. All right, so they use the word rebuild, right? But you can argue that rebuilds look different to different people, right? Like when I hear the word rebuild,
I don't know. I think rebuilds are pretty standard. Like, I think
right.
Rebuild tells you go look over your roster, you decide how many years you think it's going to take. It usually takes longer than it is. I didn't hear the Flyers say it's going to be a 5-year plan. I heard Steve Yzerman say that. Steve Yzerman's into the 5th year this year, and they're doing pretty good. So the Flyers are not doing a 5-year plan. You know it, I know it, but that's really what it takes in this league. It takes about 5 years. So everything else is just talk and semantics in my eyes. It's not what you would call a true rebuild, because if it is a true rebuild, then you would be trading some of these guys, and you might have traded them already, like Konechny when he's having his best season, things like that, because in 5 years, you're not going to have him, or he's not going to be at the point where you're going to want to pay him big money at the age that he's going to be at. They haven't made any of those decisions yet, but those are the decisions you make when you're rebuilding.
I think we're kind of along the same path here, because they're using that word, but I don't think the way that they're using it is the way everyone is thinking that they're going to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
I still feel like the message is, we're rebuilding, but we still are really smart, and we might be able to do it faster. And everybody thinks they can do it faster until they can't.
That's kind of what I'm picking up too. It's, you know, we're going to rebuild, but we're not going to tear it completely down, kind of thing.
Right. So at any rate, I got to run.
All right, Russ. Thank you for hanging out, man. Really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy this time of year.
All right. Take care.
Take care, Russ. Thank you.
And just to piggyback on that, I think the team finally said rebuild, because it's literally what almost everybody's wanted to hear. Whatever they do, actions speak louder than words. But saying it definitely, you know, firing Fletcher and saying that definitely calmed the fan base a little bit. But it's only going to last for so long. And we talk about rebuilds looking different. I agree with Russ. I think there's really one way to do it. It's how good you do it. I get told all the time the Hextall rebuild didn't work. Newsflash: Hextall didn't rebuild. He did not. He made some moves that could be attributed to a rebuild, such as the Coburn trade, which wound up being a great trade, but that's about it. Or the Shen trade. That was the other one. Over the span of 3 years, he traded 2 players off the roster that meant something. And I'm not counting Hartnell for a 4th and RJ Umberger. You know, like that and he got rid of some dead contracts, but like he never added to the team today. And if he should have added, in the sense that he could have flipped him at the deadline. Like, I never understood why we never traded a guy like Sam Gagner. Like, you could have gotten about 2 or 3 for him. He had some runs when he was with the team. Like, he was halfway decent, you know, and he just never did it. And that's about as much as he added, you know, and that was not a rebuild. You did not move your best players. You did not do anything of that nature that you have to. I'm not saying tear it down to the studs. You're not trading guys who are 23 years old, but you got to trade your top guys. That has never happened in Philly in their entire history.
I actually kind of look at the Hextall thing and think that's more of a retool than what Chuck Fletcher did.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what Fletcher did. I mean, he got brought in here to win. Shit happened, and he did not respond to it. He did not handle it well at all. He's a seasoned GM. I get it. Nobody's dealt with COVID before, but the rest of the league figured it out, and he just folded like a lawn chair.
Like like going back to Hextall, at least there was a plan there, right? Like it didn't work, obviously, but there was a plan. It was like, okay, well, we're going to try to build this prospect pool, but at the same time, we're going to try to make the playoffs. And like, it's not like they were trying to win the division. It was more so, we're going to try to sneak into that wild card every year and just hope to get in and see what happens. And that happened a couple of times. They missed the playoffs by a couple points as well, but like, at least there was a plan there. Chalk, I don't know what this was. Like he was just trying to like put a Band-Aid over it and then just keep stacking the Band-Aids on top of each other.
When he first came in, Fletcher, like there was something of they're going to shore up the center depth. They're going to add to their defense, and I love the Niskanen deal. That was his best trade. A lot of people try to say Braun was his best trade. That's cute, but the Niskanen trade. I mean, we saw Provorov's best season. We saw the Flyers' best season in years. That was a good trade. When that fell through, he had no backup plan. That's when things really spun out of control. He's paying Gustafsson $3 million to do what Ghost does when Ghost is still on the team. Like it just all fell to pieces. Hextall, yeah, he had a plan. You're not going to hit on all your picks, but he just didn't do like little things that I always thought were easy. Sign a guy on a 1-year deal and flip him. Just add more picks, add more ammunition. And he just outright refused to do anything like that, which irked me. And when they did make the playoffs, when they snuck in, they got absolutely embarrassed every time. You know, we had the whole throwing of the bracelets incident against Washington. And then, the Penguins, I think it went to game 6, but when they lost like 8-1.
All right, boys. So let's get to the results a little bit. Flyers picking at 7. Who do we want? Dan Knightley, our buddy. Dan, thanks for hanging out, man. How you feeling, fellas? Who are the Flyers drafting at 7? I think you already know. His name begins with an R. Second name begins with an L. That's who we're getting. Who do you guys want?
I mean, I want to get him so at least I can see somebody be very happy. And Jim, somebody deserves to be happy on this panel here. And
I convinced myself weeks ago that we weren't gonna. This was my backup plan. All right, because I don't want to. I felt let down for like. Here's my thing. I didn't want to get excited all year because I didn't want to be let down. And you just couldn't help be excited when today came. So, yeah, I was excited today. But when I saw the Flyers pick at 7, I was only sad for like 2.5 seconds. And I was like, all right, well, deep draft. That's fine.
No, I agree. I bought into the, the league needs Philly to be good. Like I bought into that a little, just enough to give me that hope. So maybe my 2.5 seconds were more like a full minute, which is actually a really long time when you're disappointed, but like we stayed at 7. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Dan Knightley. He is a knight in shining armor when it comes to the tanking method. And I want to appreciate that. He's going to war right now on Twitter, by the way.
Is he really? What the hell? What are people fighting about right now?
Tanking doesn't work, even though we just saw Chicago just flat out tank and defy the gods or flat out kill them because they don't exist and get the top pick. And, even the Ducks are going to get Fantilli. He's going to be a hell of a player. Columbus with Carlson. I mean, come on. Like, what more evidence do you need? Look at these teams that are winning. Chicago did it before with Kane. They're going to do it. And that wasn't just Kane. They got Taze and defenseman Duncan Keith and whatnot. Keith. They're going to do it again. LA, Pittsburgh, Washington, take your pick, man. Colorado.
Boston.
Sorry.
I do agree with you.
Boston's the outlier. Boston and the Blues, even though Pietrangelo was the 7th overall pick. What do I know? Yeah, but the old exception that proves the rule. Thank you, Jim.
Provorov was a 7th overall pick.
I know. I didn't work out. Yeah, shit.
We want to trade him.
We didn't trade for Ryan O'Reilly when we had the chance. Hextall wouldn't do it. That's why.
Yeah.
Can't trade Travis Sanheim.
No, we cannot. So let's talk a little bit more about the lottery, guys. At 7.
I didn't say who I wanted to.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, me neither.
I actually don't know.
Really?
So I will say this. I obviously still like Moore. I don't see as much on him right now, but I got to let the dust settle a little bit. The name been going around even before I've seen reported is Dvorsky. Don't necessarily know why. I just have been seeing his name pop up a lot on different feeds. So I guess he's in the conversation. I even saw him go in one mock. Don't remember who. Saw him go like above Will Smith. And as we kind of discussed off air, I see how Travis feels. Will Smith is a name because I don't think Columbus is taking him now.
No.
Right.
He could be there. I still hope somebody else kind of just takes him. Not that I hate him or anything. I just would rather that issue be somebody else's issue above us, and somebody that I would like them to see get is more likely there. So I kind of do hope that happens. But yeah, I mean, the names right now are Dvorsky, obviously Leonard, and I haven't seen more, but we'll see there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking from now to the draft. It's just the way it is. People rise, people fall. Maybe Bedard, decides to play in the KHL.
So I'm looking at Russ's list right here, and Flyers are picking 7. He's got Dvorsky at 7, which listen, Flyers fans would love this kid. And he's a center, pure center. I mean, he carried his team on his back in the U18s. I think he'd be a hell of a player. He's at 7. Oliver Moore's at 8. And then Ryan Leonard's at 10. This is on Russ Cohen's updated list, updated on May 3rd. So Flyers are getting a player. And he's got Will Smith at 6. So whether it's Smith, Dvorsky, Moore, Leonard, I'm happy with any one of those guys. Trav, what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't have a guy yet. I still want to do more research as we go on here. We got about a month and a half to go. But I did hear today someone with some knowledge thinks that Smith's going to end up going 4th or 5th.
That was before it was okay.
They were really happy with his U18s.
So what's that now? That's, you said 4th or 5th. So that's Montreal and San Jose.
San Jose, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I'd be happy with that. Not that I hate. I really don't. If we wound up with Will Smith, I really wouldn't be that upset. I just it's like the most, what's the word, like polarizing pick. Like we would be button heads as a fan. Well, we're gonna do that anyway. We get Bedard and people be yelling at each other. So but it would really add fuel to the fire, and I don't know where I stand on it yet. So that is by far the most interesting player outside of the top 4 for me. I just curious where he goes and how he does. And if you're saying he goes, what did you say, 4th or 5th? Mitchkov, that makes sense if they don't like his situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'll be honest, if Michkov's there for the taking and we pass on him, I'll be disappointed.
Well, you heard Russ said Briere's like, and he's the interim. He's the interim, and then he's like, nope. So that's balls right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a great point by Russ. But in the same token, I mean, they took 2 Russians during that span in Provorov, and for whatever reason they liked Rubtsov enough to take him. Like, why wouldn't they?
Well, it's a complete different front office than it was, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, Hextall's the only one who grabbed the Russians.
Yeah,
like Brent Flair wasn't there. I guess Barry Hanrahan was there, but he's the cap guy.
He's always there.
Yeah.
He was there. He is definitely
let's
there.
not get started on him. But,
Barry, present. Yeah.
Guys, if you're watching live, there's a bunch of you watching live. Make sure to comment. Let us know what you think about tonight. Are you disappointed? Obviously, you're disappointed. But what do you think about the Flyers sitting at 7? I mean, who would you like them to take? Who would you like them to take at 7? If you follow me on Twitter, you know who I want. Craig Button compared Ryan Leonard to Travis Konechny today, which I don't. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't agree with that comparison really at all.
Yeah, I read more in the Dylan Larkin, Ryan Callahan.
That's who I thought he could play. Because Ryan Callahan.
Well, they compared Larkin to Callahan when he came out too. It's like in the same,
really?
Yeah, and it's one of the players. I wouldn't surprise me if he's there. If he's Detroit's pick, I almost be convinced.
That's interesting because I don't compare Larkin and Callahan at all.
Yeah, no,
I think Callahan was like a really good grinder. Like you think of grinders as like third and fourth line guys.
Yeah, he was smaller, but like heart and soul kind of guy. But this isn't my comparisons. This is just what I read. And it was at the time of Larkin's draft. And I even think that they compared Larkin to Yzerman. So if there's at the time, if there was a if he's available and they think he's like Larkin, in my opinion, that's easily their pick. But Stevie Y, he could pick somebody who's not even in the top 15, and I would be like, yeah, I believe it. It's a good pick. Stevie Y does. Look what he did with Sider. Sider was like, I think he was top 50, like he was in the 14-15 range. He was 6th overall, and he's good. So I'm not going to go against Stevie Y.
You guys think that Columbus and Philadelphia now are only 4 picks apart in this thing, with Kevin Hayes all but a lock to go to Columbus? Do you think they still work out some kind of a deal where the Flyers can maybe move up 4 spots?
I mean, we would have to trade Konechny and what else York. Like, there's no way. There is no. Yarmo's not that stupid. If Fletcher was running Columbus, oh yeah, all day. But like with Yarmo, there's no way. If anything, we'll somehow trade Hayes and drop back into the 20s.
I think they retain money on Hayes and he goes for a 2nd or a 3rd round pick.
Exactly.
They do need a 2nd, and I'd be okay with that at this point. Hey, Kenny G, it's been a while.
Kenny.
Come here
to tickle for Ryan Leonard.
Jim's fancy.
Speed Demon with the wicked shot. I mean, Jack, that's right up your alley right there, dude.
See, that kind of sounds like Travis Konechny.
It does.
But we got Travis Konechny like 22, man. This is too early for that shit.
That was a good pick by Hextall.
That's a good trade, too. That was a Coburn trade, and then he moved up with the 2nd rounder he had. It was like it goes right under the carpet.
That is true.
Some league-wide things. I'm glad Pitt didn't move up to that 4 spot.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been a nightmare.
Gary tried. Gary tried.
Yeah, whether that would have been Smith or Carlson or Michkov, I mean, that would have been a nightmare. The Capitals stay put. Thank the Lord. Once it kind of got down to that final 3, I was hoping it was going to be the Ducks. I thought Bedard and Zegers could have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
My fantasy team was,
I didn't want Columbus just because of the whole Johnny Gaudreau, Connor Bedard, Kevin Hayes thing. I mean, that's what we wanted last year. Talking this time last year, that's what us Flyers fans wanted.
God,
so I'm glad it's not Columbus.
So all those people saying, "Oh, Johnny," not that I necessarily disagree, but Johnny Hockey doesn't make sense for this team now. For that team to do that right in our face, oh my God!
I thought that was going to happen just for that reason.
Everyone's like, I don't know how I feel. Maybe because I'm angry right now. No, never mind. I'm not going to say it. Forget it.
Why?
I was going to say I almost preferred that over him going to Chicago, but I don't mean that. I'm emotional. I don't mean it.
Well, here's the thing. So there's 2 sides. Like, I'm glad that he's not in the Metro.
True.
At the same time, it would have been kind of cool to watch Bedard 4 times a year. No? See, that's where I'm at in my fandom, I think.
Well, think about what
the Flyers aren't going to be good for a while. I'm just going to enjoy watching good players, I think,
Yeah, but we've gone through almost 10 years of really bad hockey that's gotten progressively worse with one little, poke in the stand and the graph. If he goes to a Metro team, oh my God, dude, you might not like hockey again. We have to cancel everything. Hey guys,
Crosby
the scores. Like that would have been tough to watch. Anaheim would have been great. Chicago, there's no gods, but it's still the West. It's still the West.
Yeah, you're right.
Keep Bedard, keep all the Connors in the West. So I don't want to face them in the Cup. That's it.
Going back on one of Jack's previous points, I completely agree with you that the league, and I think the league knows this, they should. The league's better when the Flyers are good because that's ticket sales, that's jersey sales, and people hate the Flyers, so they're tuning in for Flyers, Penguins, Rangers, Rangers, Flyers, them kind of games. But that kind of holds true for Chicago as well. I mean, the league's better when Chicago's good.
I'm almost, and to that point, I know they kind of had to, but like, God, it sucks they took Detroit out of that division. Chicago and Detroit, like, I love that rivalry, especially in the playoffs. Like, oh my God. But yeah, no, I mean, you saw what they did with their little, run, and to just revamp that, like, one player who's probably like really relieved is, oh God, I'm going to forget his name now. Seth
Jones.
Seth Jones. Thank you. I kept wanting to say Seth Rollins. I don't even watch wrestling now. Yeah, Seth Jones signing big time there, shunning the Flyers and immediately shit in the bed. Yeah, he's probably like, woo, I got a chance now.
What, shit, I just completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I do that when I go on.
Oh, we got a comment to save us here from
Chris
Ooh,
Bennett.
Reinbacher.
Chef Bennett. Michkov, Benson, Dvorsky, Reinbacher. Maybe see if Detroit wants to move 9 and 18 to get 7, maybe plus. Still potentially have more Leonard, Smith, Perreault on the board there. I love this, by the way.
I like that too.
I would love that. I just see Stevie Y staying put and just taking somebody that we're like, oh, and he just,
I wonder if a guy like Benson or
Reinbacher in with those other names at the top.
I mean,
He's
Stevie
the
Y
second
likes his
highest
D.
rated defenseman according to Russ.
Yeah, maybe he likes him. I don't know, but I mean,
I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong. You never have enough defensemen, and if he's in a move back scenario, I just feel like Detroit will stay put, take somebody nobody's expecting. I hope another team does. I'm not against trading back. It's just how far back you go, and it's not a Cole Caulfield situation as much as Rush laid that out. We may screw ourselves in the end. But there's a lot of players I like. It's not like there's one guy I have to have. Like, we're all in. Could it be more? Could it be Leonard? Could it be Dvorsky? If you have your pick of the litter and you can move back a couple of spots, I don't even care what you grab. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I'm on that bus. As much as I would love them to take Ryan Leonard, I'm still on that. If you could trade back 2 spots and potentially still get your guy.
Oh, Jim.
And get an extra pick. Yeah.
Leonard's ranked at 10 according to Russ. Can you imagine move back to 8, 9, 10 and still getting Leonard?
Yeah. I mean, any one of the names that are literally in this comment, I'd be fine with. Aside from Perreault in top 10, because I think if you can get Perreault at 18, that's a great first round. Like that's Provorov TK first round right there. But yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. You guys would do it too, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so.
There's so many good names. If it's the 03 draft and you have an opportunity to move back and get 2 of those guys, you do that.
Yeah.
I want as many first rounders we can get this year.
Right.
See, we were talking about this with Russ. This is the kind of stuff that we need to see start to happen. Like it can't just be, all right, we're going to use all of our picks. We need creativity.
Yes.
We need we shouldn't be able to predict the moves that are going to happen. Right? A smart GM does stuff where we're like, holy shit, where did that come from? Like, how did he pull that off? Like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
I say this to my friends all the time. Is it possible that the Flyers could just borrow Howie Roseman for just one day, and make that happen? Because that's exactly what you're describing.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone last week and they're like, man, I really don't think they should trade Provorov. It's not a smart move. And then he started saying, he's a minutes eater and all that stuff, which I kind of don't buy into. But I said, well, yeah, you got to take a step back to move 2 forward. And I think Provorov's the way you do that. And I think we could get a decent first rounder for him. I really do.
Well, and the other thing is when I try to describe my dream defensive core, I don't want my top 2 defensemen being minutes eater. I want them being like studs. Like good, like
game
really
breakers.
Good. Yeah. And I also want them to want to be here, and I really think that's a massive issue with Provorov. If there's any player on the entire team, even more than Hayes, that needs a change of scenery based on how he's acted, it's Provorov. Hayes is more contractual than it is anything. And they both need to be moved, don't get me wrong. But Provorov, I'll never question his effort. He leaves it all out on the ice. But does he even really want to be here? I don't know, man. I don't think so. You can't have a guy in your locker room like that. I do think ultimately they part ways at some point.
Okay. I just did it again. I had something I was going to say and
my fault. I just go on.
It's not you. It's like as soon as I'm ready to say it, gone.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. Here it is. I got it. It's back.
Hey.
Okay. So now that the 2023 draft is over, Macklin Celebrini, the already projected 2024 first overall pick. Should we start the hashtag up now?
Yeah.
Seller for Celebrini.
Oh, God.
Right?
Well, when Florida finishes last next year, we're in business, baby.
Oh, we're going to have 2 picks.
I got a name for you. Michael Misa. It's a couple years from now, but this kid's going to be a stud.
So 2025?
So it's not next year.
I think 25.
How do you spell his last name?
Hey, let's go.
Misa. Michael
So-
Get
Misa.
'em. Let's Italian it up. Get all the Italian players that you can get. Misa, Celebrini,
Well, I think of
D'Angelo.
hockey, Jim. I
Pirella.
don't know if we want to go that heavy into the espresso market.
I'm telling you, it's a winning
It's
strategy.
not soccer, Jim.
Congratulations to Napoli winning their third Scudetto.
There
I
you
don't even know
go.
what that means. I have no idea what you
Right.
just said. Is that like a like one of those cake, like the cookie things?
Yeah, they won one of the trays. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was one of those like flour cookies.
Oh no, it's a soccer team. They won. So like, yeah. Well, sorry. Before the viewers start falling off here, let's move on.
Yeah. Shit.
All right, so
Abort.
some more Flyers related news here before we forget to bring this up. Flyers have 3 players representing North America in the World Championships in Tampere, Finland. I think that's how you say it, and Riga, Latvia. Cutter Gauthier and Ronnie Attard will be representing the United States, and Scott Lawton will be representing Canada. So that's pretty cool. We'll have a vested reason to watch the World Championships. I believe they'll be on NHL Network.
There were 2 other Flyers invited to Team Canada who respectfully declined.
Oh, get out. Who are they?
Morgan Frost and Travis Konechny.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Okay. Guess I didn't need Scott Lawton. I guess needed to go over and they didn't. I don't know.
Frost should have went.
Should have went. That's what I think. But yeah, that'll be fun. That's it starts May 12th. So I would assume that runs maybe a little bit longer than a week. I think I saw May 12th to the 18th, where how long that tournament goes for. So that'll be fun. That's next week. Yeah. Yeah, man, what a night. Jack, I thought I was gonna get a little bit more fire from you for tonight.
We had a
'Cause
guest.
You had a guest?
We had
Oh,
a guest.
Ross,
And
yeah.
we started with the guest. I didn't get to get it all out and then have the guest. You brought him in, and I
I
bit my
know.
tongue.
Here's a comment from Cliff. Cliff, thanks for hanging out as always. Chicago tanked so well, gave away their best young player into DeBrincat, and aren't as deep in prospects as many teams. They'll be 5 to 7 years with no playoffs.
Cliff, they got Bedard. They're going to be in playoffs next year. Dude, they got DeBrincat in the second round. Look what they traded him for. Like, they're going to be fine. Like, the Chicago's the team I'm least worried about getting back into the swing of things, you little shit.
Is what's a comparable for a DeBrincat trade? For Konechny. You think it's a DeBrincat trade?
No. Well, he did have a really pretty good season, but he's got to stay healthy.
I don't think it's as much as DeBrincat.
Really?
That was a high pick. That was a high pick to begin with. Yeah, I don't. I think you look at the Flyers situation, and I mean, it depends on the GM. Obviously, if it's Fletcher, it'd probably be a Braun style of return. But they're definitely getting a first plus, first and an A prospect plus. But I don't think that A prospect is like, creme de la creme. But I don't think they're getting a top 10. Definitely not in this draft, but like next year, I don't know what it looks like. A top 10 pick, like sneaking into the back of that. No,
2 years left on his deal.
He
5.5.
I think he's got at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left.
2 years.
Where did
very good contract.
Where did the Blues pick? 11
this year?
I don't remember.
It's like what, 13th or something?
I think I saw 13. Yeah.
I just kind of look at like what teams could be aggressive and like not want the pick, because it sounds like St. Louis is going to use them picks that they got to acquire good roster players. They want to make the playoffs next year.
They might have to use it on a goalie though.
They messed that situation up bad.
He's weird. Oh, it gets a goalie, so he's now their enforcer apparently.
Well, not even just weird. He's terrible.
Yeah, well,
on a terrible contract too.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's when I see a situation like that, I kind of go like, what do you do? Like you're kind of married to him. You're gonna just load up on offense. Hey, maybe.
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying to find
scenarios where like they start winning and they even out a bit. It's not like, oh, look at this, and it's I could see. I'm not saying he's going to be a Vezina guy or anything like that. I promise you, I'm not saying that. But yeah, maybe they do look to go that route. They're in it to win it. They got the money spent and all.
Maybe the Blues trade 13 and one of them picks they have at the late first round.
Man, that'd be something.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to think. I mean, Washington, that's going to be an interesting situation to see what they do.
Well, they're going to get Mishkov. Let's be real.
Could you
That's
imagine
kinda what
Chicago gets Bedard and Washington gets Michkov?
Yep.
That's what I'm kind of leaning towards as well.
Could you imagine?
I just did.
Pittsburgh gets Celebrini next year.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There you go.
But
Write
this
that
year,
down.
Gary
Danny B
Bettman gets a
trades
hard-on.
connecting to Pitt.
Ooh.
That would be terrible.
I don't want any trades with Pittsburgh.
Nah.
I hated John LeClaire playing for them and
Oh, my God.
Recky playing for them. I hated all of
Worst
it.
year of my life.
What about
Yeah.
Mark Streit?
And Mark Stroy.
Hey, we didn't trade him there directly. That was Tampa.
What a dumb trade that was.
Okay, so we're about 50 minutes in. We didn't touch on Stanley Cup playoffs at all. We're in second round.
Geez, you're really gonna
Forgot
piss
there
me
were
off, 'cause
playoffs
I know
on.
it's coming up. Go ahead, Jim.
No, second round. I want to know what you guys think of the second round so far. So first round, greatest first round in the history of the NHL, right? It's already been said. Second round, is it as exciting for you guys? Because I'm actually watching this year.
I have something invested, and that is my Mount Rushmore of greatest coaches. Because Hacksaw is just chiseling his face in, and I can't take it anymore. I see it in the Flyers Nation. I want to leave. I just want to leave the Facebook group. I can't take it anymore. Everybody with the same take, like they thought of it on their own. It's unbelievable. It's like you didn't watch the guy when he was here. It is possible to be horrible at one place, learn from your mistakes, and do something elsewhere. It is very possible to do that. They're coming out. He was never the problem. He's a great coach. Hextall restricted everything he did. Sure, there's shreds of truth in that. Dude was a moron here. Okay, do we not forget he started Elliott for a straight month, gave right into core muscle surgery. He's challenging plays with a minute left in the game. They're up 2 goals. A goal gets scored. He challenges it, loses the challenge. Now his team's on the penalty kill, goes into overtime, losing a shootout. The guy doesn't even know the rules. He's an idiot. He was an idiot. Excuse me. He was horrible with this team. Were there restrictions? Most likely there were. His whole thing was he's good with the young kids. He benched all the young kids. They all regressed. Everybody regressed. So I don't want to hear this Hackstall shit. It was a joke. He was not good here. He was not. If you watch the team, he was not good here. He's a snowflake behind the bench. He's obviously doing that differently. He grew a beard. He looks great. It's not wonderful. Okay. He was shit here. You will never convince me otherwise because I watched every goddamn game. He was a joke. Sorry. Rant over.
I was going to say, this is Jack's Bedard anger coming out. On Max
Yeah, I
right now.
channeled it elsewhere.
Hang on. I have something for you. Trav, go ahead. You want to touch on your second round? What your second round thoughts? I'll bring it up as you talk here.
Yeah, I mean, you say the word entertaining. I guess there hasn't been as many close games. A lot of blowouts so far.
Yeah. A lot of offense. People like that.
She got that right.
I've been rooting for the Maple Leafs, but like I can't lie, like watching Bobrovsky turn back the clock has been so awesome. I love Bob, and I love watching him play well. He's doing good. So like, I'm not really even mad that Toronto's really shit in the bed here. Carolina looks good. They got pumped last game.
Yeah, they did.
This Edmonton Vegas series has gotten real chippy, and I like that. That's entertaining to watch.
I think you need to play that way
come out of
against
that
Edmonton.
series. Edmonton better. I cannot have the Kraken and Vegas. One of the two go to the cup. Can't have it. Okay. Fans need to suffer more. Need the Oilers to win. Dallas is getting hit with some injuries. That's going to be tough. And I'm really going to be here. He is. You effing bastard.
Look at that face.
First off,
such a goober face. Look at his face.
Who? Jim Montgomery?
No, Hackstall.
Where's his beard? Where's his goatee? That's when he was with the Flyers.
I think he shaved it, didn't he?
That I thought I saw. Why would he shave his beard during the playoffs? Was he? See, he doesn't know the rules. He's an idiot. So
that guy in the middle.
I really think the Kraken are going to advance. Dallas is falling to pieces. I don't think Ottinger can pick up the slack enough. I haven't seen enough of Jason Robinson. It's been the Pavelski show. Yeah, I do. I think the Kraken are going to come out of that friggin' series. I need Edmonton to come out and knock off the Kraken On the other side, the Devils, it's funny, I'm like writing them off. They do exactly what they did in the Rangers series, although that was an overtime win against the Rangers. They smoke Carolina. Like now it's like if they win this next game, they're the same trajectory. I've been drinking. Trajectory of that series is like they lose 2, they win 2, then they take control of the series. If they do that, and we have a Devils Florida Eastern Conference Finals, I want to know who picked that bracket. And the only thing on Florida, Toronto, I want Toronto to win because I like the players on the team, especially Matthews. There are some serious crybabies over there. I get it. I totally get it, but my God. And sometimes you got Jim, I think it was you who retweeted how much money Marner and Matthews are making combined. Like, dude, make a play. Step up and make a play. You wanted all the money, especially Marner. I remember that offseason. Like, make a play. Stop crying and do something. And, yeah, Bob, that's the other thing that came out. Oh, why we trade this guy again? I'm like, Holmgren really had no choice, okay? I'm telling you, when Ed Schneider, doesn't have much time left and sees a playoff where you start Bobrovsky, Michael Layton, yes, he was still on the team, and Brian Boucher, all within a playoff series, that's a problem. He demanded they go get the top goalie available, who happened to be a system goalie in Brizgalov and a space cadet, and you pay him like top dollar. And Bobrovsky says, yeah, I'm not going to start here. I want to be traded. What are you going to do? Make him rot on your roster? No, you have to trade the guy. That's the only reason why he got moved. It was out of our hands. He got traded. He's a phenomenal goalie. We were impatient. Our owner was impatient, understandably so. Shit happens. Good for him.
I'm having a lot of fun in this second round.
I'm sweating.
Which usually I turn the second round off. You know what
I know it like supports the playoff system that I don't like
because it gets bored. Like I've said it before. I like the chaos of the first round. I like game after game after game after game every night. Things kind of slow down a little bit in the second round. I think Sunday they did it right. They had a day game, an evening game, and a night game.
Yeah.
So I'm loving this second round, and I'm not rooting for Seattle, but they've become a team that I respect. How's that? Because I don't really enjoy watching them play or win, but I respect them. And
I like the way they play.
Well, they're doing it without a star. Like, who's this? When you think of Seattle, who's the star?
Dave Axtell.
There you go.
Seattle has like 4 second lines.
Yeah.
I love Jared McCann. Like, I just like that whole story with Pittsburgh. I really enjoy that. And the only thing holding me back from being a flat out Kraken fan for this playoffs is it's not even Haxel himself. It's the bullshit takes. It's a shame. It's just, they're doing a great job out there. They really are.
Yeah. And then you got Vegas and Edmonton. It looks like I haven't been watching tonight. Trav, you got a score? You have the game on?
2-1 Vegas.
Okay. So it looks like Vegas trying to keep in it, even that one up. But it looked like Edmonton they're going to be a tough out, man. And Draisaitl's playing possessed. What's he got? Like 13 goals already? 13 goals was the leading goal scorer last year. It was the max amount of playoff goals scored for the leader. And Draisaitl already has 13. He had a 4-goal game, and did he have a hat trick the other night? Or was it just 2? Well, he definitely had a 4-goal game. I know that.
Using it with Hughes's game.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even that, like the start of the second round, Pavelski, 4-goal night, loses 5-4 in overtime. Yeah. The very next night, Draisaitl, 4-goal night. I think they lost.
They did lose.
Back-to-back nights, 4-goal nights for players on both nights, and they both lost. I would love to know if that's ever happened before. That was insane to me.
I could see it happening in the 80s, to be honest with you. It's a good question, yeah.
How does the guy score 4 goals and he's the only guy that scores and you lose?
I felt really bad for Pavelski. He gets hurt, comes back, does that, and they're like, guys, could give us one.
I know
4 goals for his team. Like, it's like, really, I got us to overtime single-handedly. Nobody could chip in. Like,
yep.
The other night, I thought about going back to all my old tweets of saying we should sign Pavelski instead of Kevin Hayes, but I didn't feel like being that guy.
You could have been.
I mean, that was such, like, who knows if he wanted to come here? Maybe, I don't even know if they made him an offer because they traded for Hayes' rights, but like that was such a layup move to go after Pavelski and not Hayes, and Chuck didn't do that.
I don't even think Pavelski was on his radar, to be honest with you. I think he saw because of Vigneault, actually. Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with Vigneault. But yeah, you're right. I kind of like those older players because they have contracts they're kind of easier to get out of. But like Pavelski, he might sign another one.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to that Toronto-Florida series.
Yeah, let's talk about that one a little bit.
I'm going to talk about their front office a little bit.
I'm going to get very upset.
Kyle Dubas has to be like the most overrated GM ever, right? Like what has he done?
So I understand why you say
him.
that. I understand why you say that. And he has made some baffling decisions. Like I never liked the Matt Murray edition. But like sometimes the players got to friggin' play, man. Like Jesus Christ. Like he's got some talent on that team and they're just not performing. Tavares, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Bunting. Like what the F are they doing out there? Like you should overpower this team. You got Matthew Tkachuk. People are saying he's better than Matthews. Like, oh my God. Like it's embarrassing. Now there is some, to your point, Travis, there is some team building aspects that I mean, he added Ryan O'Reilly. I love that.
That's a good, yes. That's a good
move. Love that move. And it's like, that's where I'm like, they got the players have to play. Stop crying and play, and I always have an issue with their goaltending. I don't know. I always felt they should have traded for Gibson from Anaheim. And it just, I don't even know if they were ever in talks or maybe Anaheim had nothing to do with that, but he goes these odd directions and it always feels like it's secondary. And I feel like that's cost them. And what a weird injury, by the way, for, what was that, Samsonov?
I didn't see what happened. What happened?
Luke Shen took him out.
Did he really?
Yeah. Luke Shen slid to try to break up a odd man rush, and he slid right into Samsonov.
That's a shame. He was playing well, I thought, too.
And that was a good pickup. That was nothing, though. That wasn't the big acquisition. Like Washington cut him. Like they just moved on from it.
It's just odd to me that like it's very obvious that if they didn't make a run this year, his job's done. And then you pin all your hopes on Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov.
That I agree with. Samsonov is whatever because it was very like low risk. Murray, I agree with. I haven't liked Murray since his like final 2 seasons in Pittsburgh, let alone Ottawa.
Right.
Like, that I agree with. That I totally agree with. I feel like goaltending, even Campbell ended up being a better move than I thought it was going to be, but it was still kind of low key. Like, why haven't they just?
Well, they traded for him to be the backup, wasn't he? Freddie Anderson's
yeah, you're right.
backup.
You're right, because they still had what's his name, Frederick Anderson, I believe, at the time, right? So like they've always taken a backseat to goaltending. I'm like, guys, you went far with like Felix Potvin and Cujo, like Curtis Joseph. Like that's when you were almost most successful. You saw the second round more often, that's for sure. Like offensively, killed it. Defensively, he's added. I think Giordano's been okay, I guess.
But he didn't bring in Matthews and Marner and all them. That was Lou Lamoriello.
That's true.
Like, if anything, Dubas overpaid them guys when they were too young.
Even Nylander, yeah, and he made a promise that he would never trade him or whatever. And maybe that's kind of burning him because he could probably use that to shore up his back end or the goaltending. But yeah, there's holes in that roster. When it comes to offense, he hits it. When it comes to defense, it's relying on Morgan Riley an awful lot. Giordano's making like nothing, so I can't hate that. And yeah, goaltending that's where their issues are. That, and I think they're very talented, but they're still soft.
So I was gonna put something out on Twitter the other day, and I was gonna read off the Leafs defensemen. Take away Morgan Riley, and I don't know, let's say Ivan Provorov, and I was gonna put the Flyers defense side by side with the Leafs defense, and I was gonna ask, who would you guys rather have? Right, because if you take away Morgan Riley, you're looking at TJ Brody making $5 million, 32 years old. Justin Hall, who I don't know where he came from. Wow. Jake McCabe, solid defenseman, 29.
That was their free agent or deadline acquisition.
Yep, signed for 3 years, $2 million apiece. Timothy Liljegren, another guy, not sure where he came from, 24 years old.
He was a first round pick. I kind of like him. He shows some
young,
signs
though, right?
of being a good puck mover.
Mm-hmm. Luke Shen, Mark Giordano, 39. I think he's kind of showing his age now, and unfortunately,
minimum.
He is.
To it, yeah.
He is, but I think there's an argument out that you could say he's hurting the Leafs more than he's helping right now.
He had a really strong regular season. He struggled mightily in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. And then
Sold.
Eric Gustafson. If I put the Flyers D side by side with the Leafs D, I mean, who would you have? You know,
Short term, Flyers. Long term, the Leafs.
the fact that you even have to think about it is pretty telling. Is my point? Like the Leafs D is not very good.
You know who they could use? They could really use Ristolainen. They need somebody to punch somebody in the mouth. Like they do.
Risto ain't doing that. He'll hit you, but he ain't punching nobody.
No, you don't want to do that in the playoffs. I'm saying like hit somebody. Like he needs to hit him and Luke Shen. They need to like hit people, and it's just because they're forwards. They're crying. They're crying that they're getting. Oh, this isn't getting called. That isn't getting called. You can't do that. Like the refs aren't going to just suddenly turn on your side. So you got to like kind of police yourselves a little bit here. And I do feel like they'd be better. I mean, they're just more talented in the end. You took away Provorov, which I understand. But yeah, when you said some of those names, I feel like they need like a true number 2 or something. Like they need something. They could honestly use Provorov like pretty bad.
I said for years, like they needed like a prime Shea Weber to play next to Morgan Riley.
Oh my God, they'd be
need like Riley's a good 2 if he's got the right partner. They don't have a number 1 in my eyes.
I can understand why you say that, and if all you can afford is another not true number 1 like a Provorov or something like that, they'd be significantly better. My God, if that team got a Shea Weber style player or Victor Hedman, or my God, that would be the missing piece. Like I'm telling you, I mean they still needed to get better in goal, but like that would be Jesus. That would make them the Lightning in their prime.
And it does suck. I mean their best defender, who's not a 1 either. I think he's a 2, but that's Muzzin. I mean, he got hurt early in the year. He's probably never going to play again. I mean, that
I was going to say somebody's hurt. Yeah, somebody's got to be hurt.
They never really replaced him.
So Toronto has Boston.
They went a little cheap, but that's because they spent all their assets on Ryan O'Reilly.
So Toronto has Boston's first round pick this year. If Dubas is still there, I'm going to assume he's going to look to move it. Dubas, whatever.
Ooh.
Maybe they do need Ivan Provorov. You know, maybe there is something there.
How the hell did they get Boston's first round pick?
I don't remember. Actually, I can click that. Hang on. I'll tell you.
Like who they trade
February
away
23rd.
to acquire a first round pick?
Man, I don't know. Okay, so Washington had Boston's first round pick, and they traded Rasmus Sandin for Eric Gustafson and a 2023 first round pick.
Oh.
Kind of a short-sighted trade, in my opinion, for Toronto, because Sandin, I think, is a pretty good player.
Could use him right now.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I'm not sure if Dubas, all right, Trav, is still there.
Dubas.
Maybe they move that pick because it wouldn't make sense for them to keep it. I mean, maybe it would. I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, if
that's the one thing he's done. I mean, he just trades his first round pick every year. That trade to get Nick Foligno in there for a first round pick, or two first round picks for a washed up Nick Foligno. That was a terrible trade.
See, we need the Flyers to make some of these moves like
that. Provorov to Toronto for that first, baby. Let's go.
2 firsts. If Foligno goes for 2 firsts, come on.
Now we're talking.
That
maybe
was
like
trade deadline. That was trade deadline.
Cam Atkinson for 2 first round picks. Now
there we go.
Yeah, we're gonna have
leadership.
Cap, though. We're gonna eat some cap.
Former 40-goal scorer. All right, boys. We're about an hour and 8 minutes in. Let me see. Did we miss anything tonight? Is there anything that you guys want to touch on before we close out this show?
The only thing I'll add is when you brought up the front office, Trav, for a second, I thought you were talking about Florida, in which case I'll just bring up Bill Zito. Remember that guy? Took a lot of flack for trading for Matthew Tkachuk. Seems to be things are working out. Also, interviewed here, was edged out by Chuck Fletcher. By edged out, I mean they never even considered Bill Zito. They just did it because they had to, and because his father plays golf with Bobby Clark, we got Chuck Fletcher. So think about that.
Right on.
I think Jack's just letting it all out.
Fuck.
So something that I want to maybe bring up next episode here is I thought it was interesting of the final 8 teams in the playoffs, 4 of the teams have no state income tax, which I think allows them to not necessarily sign players for less money, but sign players to lower cap hits. And, you know, when you look at the top players' salaries, you're like, what are you talking about, Jim? These guys are making $8-9 million. Well, yeah, but if you look at how much the Leafs had to pay guys like Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, I mean, they're paying $10, $11 million for these guys, and there's a reason for that. It's because Toronto gets taxed out the ass. So a guy making $9 million in Florida is essentially making the same as and I'm just for argument's sake, a guy making $9 million in Florida is making the same as a guy making 10.5 in Toronto, is what I'm saying. So what that allows a team to do is spend more money on depth. Seattle, build a team of these guys, right? They're not paying anybody $9-10 million. Look at Vegas. I mean, they kind of did the opposite. They went out and signed a lot of these guys, Pietrangelo, Eichel, but a team with no state income tax. Tampa Bay was in the playoffs for, 2 back-to-back cups. Florida's doing it now. And there's one more I'm leaving out. Oh, Dallas, another team with no state income tax. Coincidence? I don't think so. I like to connect these things and say, hey, that's an actual advantage. If you're able to sign players for less of a cap hit, that's an absolute advantage over teams that have to, pay a little bit more to guys to get them to play there, right? Because the government's taking more money out of their friggin' checks.
Oh, you mean the lightning tax? Yeah, I've heard of that. I mean, it's a perfect example. Yeah, the NHL has one of the worst salary cap situations in all sports. Like, look at the NBA, the movement you get there with the soft cap. We got a stupid hard cap. Like, the NBA is great for their trade deadlines, their off season. It's fun. It's great. And then, football, they're cutting people left and right. Man, those players got a weak union. And baseball, they have a luxury tax. Like, you can go over, you get penalized, but you can still spend what you want to spend. The hard cap sucks. Everybody knows it. The only single person who likes it is Gary Bettman and low market teams. That's it.
Yeah, get rid of it.
It's it. And it sucks. It hurts the league. It hurts the movement. It hurts the fun and the frenzy and all that craziness. And it's a crying shame. And unfortunately, because of that goofball, it probably won't change.
No, it needs to go. And I'm going to push this a little bit because I think that, especially if Vegas beats Edmonton and, either Seattle or Dallas is going to advance. So those are 2 no income tax teams. If Florida advances, you're 3. And then you got New Jersey, Carolina. I don't think Carolina is a non-income tax state. New Jersey is definitely not.
Well, both those teams don't typically spend anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So there's a real possibility that 3 of the 4 teams could come from no income tax states, and it's like, how are you going to tell me that that's not an advantage? Well, Seattle's is going to be in the Final Four. You're going to tell me it's not an advantage.
Vegas has already been to a cup. Dallas was recently in a cup. It adds up. Tampa's been in back-to-back. Right, 3. They won 2.
Florida President's Trophy winner last year. Sorry, I almost tore down my laptop.
It looked like you were leaving.
And they're probably going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying something to chew on a little bit. Think about it for next week, because I'll come with more facts and whatever to back up my little argument here, because some people thought I was a little bit nuts for that, but I think there's something to it.
You're nuts at all.
It's a disadvantage for teams that have to pay players more because it affects their cap, which is what the NHL is all about today. If you want to build a good team, you need to be good with the cap. The Flyers are absolute shit with the cap. And,
Barry Hanrahan.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff matters. It's a big deal.
Real quick, and I'm sorry if this drags on, but I got to commend the Rangers. Shit didn't go their way. They fired their head coach. Meanwhile, the Flyers, they're hanging on to everybody. Begrudgingly, they finally fired Fletcher, but you got certain people who've been around for a very long time with very bad results, still just hanging around. And that's a part of the problem. If you have an issue, you fix it. If Schneider was still alive, you think he wouldn't be firing people left and right? Let's be real here.
I thought that was interesting that New York did that. Did Drury hire Gallant? Or was Drury after Gallant?
No, I think he hired him. Pretty sure.
So to me, that's kind of a strike against the GM.
I'm not sure if that's right. When did
the letter go out? Or when did the Rangers get fined for that comment about, was it the officials? Because that's
right during the Tom Wilson incident, right?
Yeah, that was it. Because that's when that GM got fired. I feel like that was 3 years ago, maybe even 4. I'm not sure. That's 4 seems wrong. But I believe because this is Gallant's second season or is
Mhm.
it third?
I thought it was the second.
It's
Yeah,
the
that's only
second.
2 years. I feel like Drury's been in charge for at least 2 years. And that's also the thing with Gallant, though, is very short shelf life. First year takes Vegas to the Cup. First year, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Rangers. Florida, what did Florida do? I don't remember. Maybe he may have stuttered there. But before that, he's typically first year is his best, and he kind of regresses from there. And to lose in the first round to the Devils and not even show up in the seventh game, I just say we're done with them. That's typical of Gallant. And I get what you're saying about the GM, but I think they knew what they were getting themselves into. And look for
I still
an
think
old face to come
that's
back.
so. It's somewhat of a black eye, or it's a bad look in my opinion.
Well,
So you hire this guy with a short shelf life. Your team doesn't do well in the playoffs, and you're firing the coach. Well, maybe you weren't ready for the coach, so you kind of
be.
did him dirty again.
well, to your point about the GM, typically they get 2 coaches is like and Drury might be in a different situation, but that's the old adage. They typically get 2 coaches that they hire and fire before they're on the hot seat.
Sure. So I'm wondering. Okay, let's say the Rangers are the Flyers, right? And they do this whole thing where they luck into a Kako Capo and Alexi Lafreniere. They hoard Panarin, Fox, Trouba, and they make the conference finals last year and they don't make it out of the first round this year. If that's the Flyers, what are we saying? They fire the coach. Now what?
Well, Fox won a Norris. He's a candidate again. Shesterkin was not the problem. To me, the GM's done his job. The coach has to get more out of these guys, particularly the young guys. Lafreniere is really looking like a bust. Oh my God. Like that's a problem. To me, that's development and the coach. And you can't have unlimited coaches, but for now, you're definitely looking at your coach and saying, what are you doing with this great roster I gave you? This team was great last year. Like what happened? What's the difference? I gave you Patrick Kane. I gave you Tarasenko. Say what you will about those guys, but to add those guys to the Kreiders and the Zibidijads and the Panarins and like, come on, like that team should have gotten past the first round. Like that's insane. That team is ridiculously talented.
For sure. Okay, guys, we're coming down to our last segment. If you stuck with us live, we kind of tease this a little bit. Jack, are you ready for this?
I thought you were going to forget. I'm a little nervous.
Don't be nervous. So we, at the end of the last show, we kind of talked about getting into hockey cards again. And we're going to implement a new segment to each show where we open up a pack. I don't know if you guys can see that. Sorry.
Green screen's killing
Here, I'll
me.
help you out.
There it is.
Your green screen screwing you. I'll help you out a little bit.
There you go.
Hey, it's a Connor, right?
Yes, sir. So at the end of every show, we're going to open up a pack and we're going to see if we can get a young gun. Do you guys know off the top of your head who are the main guys we're looking for? What year is that pack of cards, Jack?
Mine's 21-22.
Okay. So we're looking for rookie cards from 21-22. Is that the Caulfield?
Yeah,
year?
Zegras.
Caulfield and Zegras we're looking for.
Yeah, collective Young Guns rookie cards. Yep.
All
Brought
right.
to you by Broken Skull, Stone Cold Steve. Just kidding. This is not sponsored.
Fake ad.
So here we go. We're going to drum roll, please. Jack's going to open up our very first Upper Deck Young Guns pack. We're looking for Caulfield or Zegras. I know Jack wants a Caulfield. Here we go.
I'm going to get Cam York. Watch.
Announce each card as you move them through here, Jack. This is
Get nervous
suspenseful. I'm nervous for you.
Just hope it's not a really long Russian name. Oh, this is hilarious.
Uh-oh.
You got him first card.
Shen.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Got Braden Shen, not exactly a young gun, but
Should have never traded him.
Tomas Chabot.
There you go. That's a good one.
He's all right. Oh, wrong jersey. Bo Horvat.
Love me, Bo.
Here we got this great one here. We got Adam Lowry. Oh, boo.
Okay.
Boo.
It's a good pack so far. We need a young gun.
Ooh, not a young gun, but Charlie McAvoy. Good player, right? Am I
Very
right?
good
There
player.
we go. There we go. I like that.
All right. Oh, we've mentioned him earlier. TJ Brody.
How about that?
Little highlight.
Oh, we got the nerd, Jake Yensel. And guys, you're never gonna believe this last card.
You got it.
No, it couldn't be worse. You're
Oh.
looking at the newest member of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Kevin Hayes.
Oh my God.
Wow, that was
What
that.
a pack.
Should I just throw it in the fire now, or
That was a pretty good pack, though.
no young guns? Then I got
Maybe
Kevin
Brody was
Hayes
like your
and Jake
last,
Yensel.
your worst guy on there, I think.
I'm not excited.
That was a good one. So we're gonna try to do that at the end of each show. Trav, you got any packs for next week, or you want to
I'll
go
get
next
some.
week? Okay. Yeah, we'll
Braden
get
Shen.
Trav going at the end of the next show next week. And yeah, so that's it. The Flyers are picking 7th overall, we think, unless there's a trade in next month's NHL Draft lottery.
Should have a
The-
pretty good show next week, huh?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We go ahead. Do you want to promote it, Trav?
Former Flyer number 36, heart and soul player Zach Ronaldo will be joining us
That's right.
for a little sit-down interview.
I had almost forgotten about that. Yeah. So I mean,
I did too.
so much for a down show after the NHL Draft lottery, right? We're coming back with a big guest. We're excited to have Zach on. Real passionate guy, so it should be an exciting show. And yeah, so everybody, that'll do it for tonight's episode. As Travis said, we'll be back next week with Zach Ronaldo. Everybody, have a good night. Try to, I don't know, cheer yourself up. Things could be a lot worse, I guess. Yeah, or look forward to Ryan Leonard. I mean, great consolation at pick 7. So everybody have a good night. Drink your green stuff, take your vitamins, and let's go Flyers.